Okay, so I got all 6 soldered on. The next step requires either a lighter or a heat gun. I highly prefer a heat gun, but I will be using a lighter so that you guys can see what I'm doing here and I don't make excessive noise. You need to take the heat shrink and you measure out what length you need. Now some of these have more, some have less, but I did cut them all evenly, but some still on the coil side is longer than the other, so you always want to make this slightly longer than you need. You measure out 1 and then you cut 6 more. So that's what you can do. As long as you cover basically where there is no insulation on the coils or wire you cut. So I'm going to 360 for all of them. Okay, so 6 have now been cut. You basically just stretch it on one at a time, and with the heat gun you would just heat the heat shrink to shrink onto your joints. Here I'll be using a lighter, or you can use a small torch. Just make sure it's not one of those high temperature torches, and it will shrink over the wire. So basically you have the whole thing is insulated from shorting against either the board or anything else. That's basically the lower heat for heat is also is not a deal, but it's not the best smell. If you want to sure, sorry. I don't know what to do with heat on it, really use it, much more reliable, I guess. You can say just heat evenly and not work on anything. As long as you don't need to probably have the rest of it, just special. So here's all of them. At this point, you want to take the board, find the side again that has the cutout, and remember to push all of these all the way down, since the board will be laying on this. And remember, I had a component stuck here. If you have anything stuck, you have to clean it off, make it as thin as possible. That way it's just a lot easier to get the board down. Also, if you have anything around this round area, also clean it off. It'll make the board go on easier. So basically the board places on, you pull these back, the pins back slightly, and just let it fall in, and you push down on the middle and do the other side. Okay, once all are completed, you pull it back up because you want it as high up, and well, I guess down in this case since it's like this, but you want it away from the coils, as far away as possible, basically. Okay, and it's all the way on. Here everything is completed. And now you solder in order. The one where you didn't make the extension solders on the left side. The one that you did make the extension solders on the right side. So these are basically what it's like throughout. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. During the time I'm going to strip the insulation off of each one of the black ones, since these do still have the insulation on them. I will pre-tint all of them, that way when I solder each joint they're ready to go one after another without having to wait. So now we've completed removing the insulation and tinting the wire. When removing the insulation, don't remove too much and try to be as even throughout as you can. And another thing I can mention is, if you're not 100% aware in your soldering skills, you can test your work prior to soldering to the board. What you need to do is get a multimeter, set it to the lowest possible resistance, and measure between the coils, like one coil to each coil. It needs to be measured individually. You should be somewhere around half an ohm, between 0.45 ohm and 0.5 ohm. Somewhere between there is where you should be. And yeah, after that, basically all you need to do is bend all the wires over and get ready to solder. And good thing to use is the tweezers. At this point, you can just bend it, get it wherever you need it. There are holes in these, and the board can use the holes if you choose to do so. I prefer not, so I'm not doing that. But take time, don't rush, don't rush. Don't use very. The wire, you can use straight or solid core wire, doesn't matter. Get it all into shape. Okay, and let's do this one. Okay, and basically the trick I do is I always add solder to the board itself, and then I reheat and lay the wire down. When you off, it's not necessary. The wire's that. Part of the board will be easier. It's going to be able to stay in the area. But if you can't find, you just heat. Okay, sorry about the stoppage. Actually, I'm anyway, so what you want to do is start all throughout the ones that are laying there. Just heat to it. Basically, just heat pad with the wire laying line, and then when you have things, push the pads. And also back through into all the wires. As always, you want a nice clean joint. Make sure the temperature is high enough. Make sure you use enough solder. Don't use too much. Joints need to be shiny and fluid looking. No blobs. None of that. Do a good job. So that if you do have any problems, it's not going to be with your soldering work. So check this. Anywhere to be. We're flow. Good. You're going to start somewhere, add more. So once that's been completed, you're basically done. The only thing left would be soldering the power cord on, and the order is, if you look at the bottom of the board, power, ground, and then the RPM. These two here are to be able to control the fan with, for example, a variable resistor or a pot, etc. So anything along those lines to be able to control the actual pump, but it's not a PWM system. It's not, you can't control it with, for example, software from your computer or any of that. This version of the board does not currently offer that. From what I know, they may be releasing one in the future, depending on when you're watching this video, but as of the time of recording, this is the newest board. It's version, I don't know if this is an actual version model on it or not, but it's a TB6588FG and then P3.2010.12. So I'm guessing that was the time of manufacture of the actual board. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the power, and then I'm going to go and look for a wire, maybe from an old fan that was trashed, to be able to hook up the RPM. So, we'll solder the forward pole first, and later on I'll go back and I'll see this for the wire, which is the wire which is using something. Okay, so see nice clean joints, and now I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, see if I can find a RPM or a wire with connector for the RPM. If not, I'll just solder a wire and then get a connector later. You go ahead and just solder this on, and then I'll guide you through putting the pump back together, and then we will be testing it. So I found some sort of adapter that I made previously, but the connector is exactly what I need. So just double it in order, and both wires, and then push both out. And put the balloon back in, or repeat it. Then cut the balloon. Pull through. To the wire. Just like that. Just long. Lay down. This just has more reason. To the board. Solder. That's it. At this point, you don't need the soldering gun anymore. You don't need the wire strippers. You don't need solder. You don't need anything other than all the parts from the pump itself and the Torx screwdriver. You bend over the wires. You just push down on them. And then you get the pump bottom and you start fitting it. Make sure the wires stay in order. And there you go. You just let it set down into it. Put the O-ring in. Set the impeller in. Choose whichever direction you want pump to go, and start putting it together. That's it. You're finished. You have now taken your previously basically trash pump, and you transformed it into a very, very powerful pump that should last a very long time for you without any issues. And I hope this was useful. I should be receiving a DDC2 pump, or a DDC1, which I will be using to create another how-to video for just the DDC1 for those who need help with that. And just go throughout tightening the pump until across until it's fully tightened, and there you are. That's it.